What is up, YouTube? I have some organic soil, or I should say cocoa, I'm mixing up tonight. I'm gonna let it marinate, let this become kind of a living soil. I want all the slow release fertilizers and everything to actually start breaking down before I plant and germinate. I want the microbes and everything to be live and in action and ready to go as soon as we're ready to actually plant the seed. I'm waiting for the biggest plant I have to be harvested, and then we can go. I have a list of everything I can post up. I have the picture, everything I got organic for this particular run. I will be adding in some additives later on in the grow that aren't 100% organic, but this is going to be about 95% organic. I went ahead and put the cocoa straight out of the bag into my pots just to make sure everything was measuring off correctly. Pouring it back in the tote, I'm going to use the Gaia Green recommended dosage chart there for the fertilizer with cocoa. It also states that autoflowers, that 1/3 of your medium with cocoa should be castings. I'm not measuring exactly 1/3, I'm just kind of more or less eyeballing it, as you'll see. I'm just scooping it in and kind of guessing. But whether it's exactly 1/3 or a little off, I think it's gonna be just fine. You see there's always these huge chunks in the stuff, both in the cocoa and in the castings. Any of your ingredients when mixing, I think it's best to go thoroughly through everything and break up all those chunks and just get everything really evenly mixed. And so on here, I'm pretty much just dumping it all in. Gonna mix it all up and then put in the tote. Now what I did forget to put at the bottom of these in the end was I purchased from Auto Pots a liner that you put in the bottom of your fabric pots, and it's supposed to help with the root control so that you don't have roots coming through. These two pots that I'm mixing now are going to go on the Spider Farmer gravity self-watering system. It's the one that I have two huge girls currently growing on. Because of the watering system, and if done correctly, it actually, in my opinion, can grow some of the biggest autoflowers, because technically speaking, it's considered hydroponics. It's not deep water culture because my roots are in cocoa, but the plant drinks when they want, as long as you're keeping the reservoir and the bottom pod filled. And so for the most part, it's hydroponics. But I just wanted to show you guys how I mix this up. I understand if you don't want to watch the whole video. It's a lot of boring stuff when I'm measuring stuff and putting it all together. But just in case someone out there would actually like to see every little thing that I do and add and exactly how I do it, I made this video. Being that I have two 5 gallons, I basically am doing just under a cup of both the 444 Gaia Green and the 284 Bloom. Doing 50-50, that's what the recommended dose states for autoflowers. I don't mind and don't think it would be that big of an issue if you did the 2/3 444 and 1/3 the 284 on your initial mix. It's just the issue there, and I understand why they recommend you going half and half. It's because autoflowers, some strains, some genetics will go into flower 20 something days in, and you don't want to be going into flower week 3 and all you have is veg, nutrients in your medium. So they have you go ahead and mix up a little more. I plan on top dressing about 3 weeks in, and then kind of going from there every 2 to 3 weeks until obviously midway through flower, when you'd want to stop, allowing the organic material to kind of be eaten away by the end of flower and harvest, so you can get that nice fade. And so that's what I'm kind of going to be aiming and going for, obviously reading it as I go. That is some mycorrhiza, some little sample I was given, and I didn't think it would hurt. I have a couple different kinds in there. I'm sure at the end of the day it's all the same stuff. That stuff I did go over what's recommended, not by a lot, but some people think you know, it doesn't really make that big of a difference, that you're just pouring, you know, money into your soil, literally. And in some ways maybe you are, but I'll say this: the biggest plants that I've been able to grow so far, I had not only it mixed into the medium when they were going through veg, but I was watering in the water soluble great white shark, or great white, and I think the combination of the two is what allowed for me to have such explosive growth in veg and early flower on the two, in combination with the watering system that they're on. So since I have it, you know, if you got it, ball out. And that's what I'm doing right now in this particular grow. I'm not holding anything back. This is an organic cow mag. It's a slow release. Only 0.1% of it is actually water soluble. So you can water it in, but you're not going to get those immediate next day turnaround effects like you would with the liquid cow mag. This is more so meant to be put in. It stinks though. It's fish based, and you can smell it from across the living room. So in here we do have the coco and the earthworm castings, the 50-50 on the Gaia Green fertilizers, the 444 and the 284, the mycorrhiza, the two different kinds there, and cow mag, obviously I just put in there. And then this is some kelp meal, which it's also slow release, so it's going to take a little time to break down. It's another reason why I'm starting this all so early, is pretty much everything I'm putting in here is slow release, and it takes a little time to break down. And so I mix it all in. The process isn't anything special. I'm pretty much searching, as you see, for clumps and stuff to break up, and just going over it thoroughly. And so, but the going back to the kelp meal. So kelp meal just helps release, from what I understand, it affects the growth hormones of the plant. So it's really, I would say, most important in veg. It's still used by a lot of growers throughout the whole grow. Obviously, you're still growing flowers and other things in flower, and so I don't see why it would hurt. And obviously, there's probably science to back some of this stuff up. I just know that I've used it and had good results, and so I had it. I'm gonna throw it in here and see. I figured it can't help or can't hurt that much. So, but basically, it's all boring. At the end of the day, it's just part of the process. But I enjoy it. It's therapeutic. This is why I do this. This is why I grow. It was fun. I felt like I was taking care of something by thoroughly doing it. I look at it like, you know, why would you go out of your way to do all these little things for the plant, et cetera, et cetera? Well, not only am I trying to grow the best product end result that I can, but in a way, it's kind of weird, but I look at it like they would do it for me. And I know it's just stupid because I'm talking about a plant, but it's kind of one of that old-fashioned do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's like, if I was going to be a plant and someone's going to be mixing up my medium, how thoroughly and, you know, would I want them to do it? And so that's just kind of the way I look at it. I would want the best, and so I'm gonna give my plants the best. And so I take the extra time. I sat here for a good 30, 45 minutes mixing this stuff up, stirring it, breaking up clumps, just kept finding them over and over. Whether it was clumps of the earthworm castings or clumps of the coco, nothing else I had in there really clumped up. But those two things, they surely did. And the last thing I want to do is come across some golf ball size piece of dried, not amended coco, or a golf ball size piece of earthworm castings. Like, might as well break that all up. And so that's kind of all I'm doing, getting it uniform before I put it back in the pots. And then gonna basically just add some pH water, just slightly moisten it all down once I have it in the pots, and just kind of let it sit. And here, the end of this week, I should be this weekend chopping down the biggest plant I have in my tent right now. And that actually is gonna make more than enough room for me to rearrange things in the tent and throw 2 seedlings down at the bottom, try to get them in there at the 250, 300 ppfd range. And they shouldn't have any problem with the lights on as high as they are with all the other plants that are currently in flower. And so I have some plastic crates that I can lift up in different sizes, so I can kind of find the right spot where they need to be. And obviously I will adjust that as the canopies adjust for everything. But at the end of the day, this is gonna be an organic coco run. The non-organic materials that I'm going to add in later on are gonna come in flour. I have a little bit of flour fuel. It's just a PK boost, and it's a lot of PK. And so I don't ever give it a full dose. And I really only use that stuff in weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6 of flower, and that's it. Basically, once they've finished their stretch and they are developing the bud sites like crazy, that's when I would introduce the PK boost. And then I would stop it when, about week 6, if they're on a normal schedule, week 6 of flower be the last week that they would get that PK boost. Now, week 2 through the flush week of flower, which with organic, flush week is just gonna be that they haven't had their topsoil re-amended. They are running out of nutrients in that last week. They're only getting water added. It's not really a flush, but it is the process of where, the last week or two, the plant's going through senescence and basically dying, and it starts fading and eating the nutrients from its own leaves. And so being organic, I should be able to accomplish all this, and as long as I time everything correctly with the nutrients running out in the medium, it shouldn't really be an issue. But on top of the flower fuel PK boost, the only other thing that I'm going to add is going to be some Big Bud and Bud Candy, which Big Bud is another PK boost, but it's more or less a super low dose compared to the other, and I will add it alternating with the flower fuel. But the Bud Candy, or you could look up Winter Frost, is another product out there. They work really well because Winter Frost especially, what it does is it actually tricks your plant into thinking that the temperatures are colder, and it stresses it in that way. It tricks the plant into feeling like it's being attacked, which, if you know anything about the trichome development, that is when the plant starts producing a lot of trichomes as its defense mechanism. So winter frost actually tricks the plant into thinking that it's needing to produce those to defend itself, and it makes it really frosty those last couple weeks. And so same with Big Bud. It's just a carbohydrate, but the plants love it. Every plant I've ever fed it to, and gromies that I talk to, everything just gets frosty fast and loud, and so I'm gonna just keep adding it since it's so cheap. I could go the complete organic route and just do molasses, considering it, but I have the bud candy and stuff on hand, so why not? Might as well use it. I paid for it. But at the end of the day, this is just for fun, kind of experimenting. The reason I call it an experiment is because I have never run the combination of all these different ingredients and equipment. The last run that's in flower now on the Spider Farmer watering system, I used advanced nutrients, so it was all liquid salts and it was not organic. I had really good results, but I personally didn't like mixing those ingredients in all the bottles and measuring every time I'm wanting to feed, and I was going on a feed water schedule, so it was like 2 days in a row of mixing crap and then watering, and then 2 more days in a row of mixing crap and then watering, and then you just had if you were feeding through the reservoir, you were dealing with all kinds of buildup and swamp slime. It wasn't the funnest. So the plan on this run is going to be to just let the pH'd water with Athena cleanse butt chug from the bottom, keep the median saturated. And then I am going to add water and additives from the top. And that's it.